YouTube. A couple of days ago, I put out that video about trading real estate like stocks. Talked a little bit about some of the advantages of some of these online platforms versus buying properties in real life. Just wanted to give you a little update and example of, one way that I'm doing that. Uh, if you haven't been following along, I'm a real estate investor for almost 20 years. I'm also a real estate agent who works exclusively with investors. I've been spending some time recording videos of me experimenting with a few different platforms to buy real estate, to buy fractional shares online. This is not what I do for my day job. This is something that I'm researching to when I have clients or potential clients or friends or family members who want to get into real estate but don't really have the funds yet to just go all in and buy their own property or do a house hack or whatever they want to do. Maybe aren't ready to do that yet, or they're just not local to me. They're not in San Antonio, Texas, and they don't want to buy a whole property remotely, and they're looking for some other options. I've been experimenting with these to try to give them, at least some feedback on what I think is a good platform, what's not. So far, I've looked at Lofty, Arrived Homes, Landa, Ground Floor. Ground Floor is definitely my favorite for a number of reasons for most people. But I think that if you're a little bit nerdy and you like spending a lot of time, like really looking for those edges and looking for those deals, then Lofty is a great platform. It's why I've probably put more videos out about it than everything else combined at the moment. There's just a lot of opportunities here to do things that you don't necessarily have with real estate in general and with some of the other platforms. And part of that really revolves around the way the marketplace works. Now, I do want to point out, I'm saying trading real estate like stocks. The interests that Lofty sells, according to them, they're not securities. You have you get a piece of ownership in an LLC that you get a vote and control in, and I think that's why that they're not registered securities with the SEC or anything. Before you buy on any of these platforms, you should do your own research. Just because something looks good to me doesn't mean that it's necessarily the right answer. I'm just trying to share some of my real estate experience with you. Um, but also too, like today, it's just stuff that I've found out along the way. And so, I haven't put a ton of money on here yet. I invested $10,000 like a couple months ago. Lofty thinks my account value is 11,900. We can get into that another day. I don't really think I've made this much money. I think that they're overvaluing some things. I think there's a couple things that are a little glitchy. Excuse me. So I don't want you to think that I just made a 19% return in 2 months. I actually only recently got that fully invested. It took me a little while to pick deals that I like. But today, what I want to talk to you about is this one. I talked about basically dollar cost averaging down or averaging down your basis in a property, and this is one that I've done that with. Um, so just a simple little 3-1 rental property in Kansas City, Kansas. I posted a video about the initial due diligence that I did on this one before I bought it. I bought 20 tokens, which was about $1,000. Let's see if it shows up in the order book still when I bought those. I don't think so. I think I bought them further back. Yeah. So, but it wasn't very long ago. I bought 20 tokens. I bought them at this $48 mark. So somewhere in this time period. Um, not very long later, a seller came out and was, listed a whole bunch of tokens for $42. Ooh, those have all sold out now. But it looked like it was one seller, and they sold just a ton at $42. The market price has since come back to 46.39. So this really shows you that like one seller can have a very strong effect on the market price of these. But one of the things that I did, I liked the yield on this property. I liked when I looked at the value, and let me show you just a little bit of math. So originally purchased it for $48 per token. That's what you're actually buying on here is tokens. In total, there's 4,326 tokens outstanding. And so that implies a total asset value of 207,000. When I did my research, I was actually pretty happy buying into this property at 207,000. Again, something that doesn't mean you should buy it. Definitely, you need to decide on your own. Does that deal make sense? But then when the $42 price happened, that doing the same math implies that it's only 181,000. And so one of the things, if this had been real estate and I bought this home and the property went down in value, that's just only bad news for me. There's nothing that I could do. But in this instance, because I had just bought a piece of it, there's the opportunity for me to double down on this. And so that's what I did. I bought another 20 tokens at this $42 price point. So that's buying into it at 181,000, roughly implied value. And so when I look at, I bought 20 at 48 and I bought 20 at 42. So blend those, my average basis in those tokens is $45. So now basically what I did by buying more is I brought my average purchase price down, quite a bit. Now, obviously, if I had just waited and known and got them at 42 to begin with, I would have been better off to just buy them all there. But because, this was something that I already owned a piece of, I'd already done some due diligence, I quickly went back and tried to check, did anything change that I'd been missing? I couldn't figure out anything anyway. So I was able to bring my average, down to this 194. And that's not something you can do buying properties out there in the world. It's certainly not something that you can do over a 2-week span. I mean, yes, you could buy into the same neighborhood and just keep buying some properties in that neighborhood. I actually there's the deal in Landa that I'm looking at. I'm going to put another video out later this week, where you can do just that. But on here, it's something that you can do with tokens that you just can't do otherwise. And so, since all that happened, close that up. The market price has moved up to 46.39, and so, at that price, again implies about a $200,000 value. And keep in mind, this is just rough math, right? I'm just taking the token price times the outstanding tokens. I'm not looking at the fees. I'm not looking at if you liquidated this property, what it would cost you. I'm really just looking at, what uh, I like to call it guerrilla math. Like you're just looking really broad strokes. What it is that what the deal is, but by comparing across, if you're doing the same math and comparing in each situation, you can tell, it helps you understand if you're getting some value or not. And so, even though the current market is lower than my original purchase price, because of my blended rate, I'm still doing better, right? Like my total stake in this is at a price lower than the current market. And so, again, it's just something that you can't do with buying real estate out there in the world. I think that there's, over time, as long as it continues to perform, I mean, it is, I did put a sell order in just because I've been experimenting with those. I have a sell order in for basically everything I own. That's what I keep accidentally clicking on there. But this is a property that at this market price, I'm happy to just continue to own it, continue to collect rent. You can see, rent has been accumulating in my account every day since I bought it. And so it's performing currently. There's no reason for me to want to sell it other than really experimenting with this. But also too, it seems like there's a lot of these opportunities with big price moves. I think I talked about this one the other day, where I bought in pretty low and it already moved up quickly. And so that's really all I wanted to share. Just that there is this different opportunity that you don't get buying real estate in real life. One of the things I want to point out, so why wouldn't I just trade stocks if I'm willing to do this? And for me, the answer is it's much easier for me to figure out what the value of this home should be, right? I mean, the fact that tokens fluctuate so wildly is amazing. Um, the difference between the home being worth 181,000 and 207,000 in a couple of weeks is absurd, right? I mean, and obviously this is not the value of the home. This is the value of the tokens that own the home. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use my real estate knowledge, peg a value that I think, you know, each property is worth, and then when tokens are below that, buy more. When they're above it, sell, right? And because I think that I have this. I don't think it's this like rare skill, but I think it's much easier to come up with what that home should be priced at than what the true value of a company is, right? Like if I'm trading Apple stock, uh, you just need to know so many variables to understand what that business is really worth. So you can't do the same thing where you just pick a price and say this is the price it should sell for. Above that, I'm going to sell. Below it, I'm going to buy. I think a lot of traders do that, but their justification for that price might not have any real basis in the world. They have a lot to do with like charts and movement, but this, for me, is really based on, okay, if they ended up, the tenant moves out and they decide to sell this property, what am I going to end up with, right? And that's a way that I can look at um, trading real estate, pieces, and I say pieces because the different sites handle it differently. On Lofty, it's a token that represents, a piece of the LLC. In some of the other ones, they're actually just securities that you're buying that are, a fraction of the whole entity that owns the property. Um, and so I think the terminology, I'm trying to work out like what's the best way to describe these, but that's why I go back and forth a little bit. Um, in any case, it's that's it. You have this ability to do this on there here and have a value that you are very, I'm much more confident in than picking a value for a stock. And so, I'm not stopping investing in real estate in real life. Actually, the vast majority of my net worth is in private mortgages here in San Antonio, where I've bought a property, sold it, held the mortgage for them. Basically, I just collect payments over time. And that's something that'll be where most of my money is for a very long time, I think. I am, like I said in the beginning, just experimenting with this, but I think that I'm starting to see that there are some opportunities here. Somebody, especially with a lot of time on their hands, and that really can get into this stuff. I think you can get very outsized returns by putting some effort in. Obviously, you could get really hurt too. You could lose a lot if you're not doing it well. Um, in any case, this is one uh, that I just wanted to share with you. There's plenty of other opportunities. I actually just bought just four of these that popped up that were cheap. But there's going to be plenty more, and as they come up, I'm going to try to share them with you. I'm sure I'll make some mistakes. I've already have, and I think I've shared some of those. But I've also, having some decent wins in here too. So in any case, until next time, I'm going to keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.